Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel and welcome to SNMT4 tournament number 4. And this is the 6th place deck profile. This is the deck that I played, and I played Time Thief. So I barely made it into Top Cut, and unfortunately I lost my first match. But I mean, I still made it into Top Cut, so I still feel like this is worth considering playing in maybe future tournaments. But let's go through it. So we're going to start off with the hand traps. I play 3 Veiler, 3 Gamma, 1 Driver, 1 Impermanence. So I guess just the 7 hand traps with the 1 brick. And I think that these are all like pretty good hand traps for the most part. Veiler is really nice in this format just because there's not really anything else to play. Gamma is also really good, just being able to basically, if you Gamma like a normal summon, it ends everyone's turn for the most part. So that's why like Gamma is insane. But if you can't really Gamma anything specific or like hit a good thing with Gamma, it's a really dead card and it doesn't do anything in this format for like some certain matchups. But against some other matchups, this card is like fantastic. Then we played, obviously, the 1 Impermanence, like I said, and then we'll go over the extenders here in a second. So we'll go through the regular Time Thief engine. So we have 3 copies of Regulator, which is a fantastic card. Just by itself, it should end on a Hashima and 2 rank 4s, or a rank 4 and a link 2. So typically, you could just end on Hashima with like IP plus Redoer, or a Hashima Lambda Redoer with a Gamma in hand. And so I think both of those are really good. You could also end on a Hashima Perpetual Redoer, which is still fantastic since you get the trap attached to Redoer because of Perpetual's effect. But it's like, depending on what you want to do with your hand, you can definitely use the Redoer like in multiple situations. And if you have another extender, you can end on a Spell Trap Negate, which is really nice as well. Then we have 3 copies of Winder. This is a really good card, just being able to like get free searches. It's just a Stratos for the deck pretty much. But realistically, it's not very comparable to Stratos because I don't think this card's like fantastic, but I think this plus another extender is really good. Then we have the bricks, which are Bezel Ship and Chrono Quarter. So unfortunately for me, I ended up drawing these a lot more often than I would have liked to, because typically you just want to search them with Winder. And if you have the Regulator, and these are also in your hand, you can't do anything with the Regulator. It makes your Regulator dead. So unfortunately, because Regulator has to summon from deck, it has to summon 2 Time Thief monsters with different names. So if these are both in your hand or on your field or in the grave, your Regulators are dead. So they're definitely dead, like typically after like turn 3 or 4 typically, just because you've already like exhausted all of these out of your deck, so you're just left with Winder, typically like 1 or 2 copies, and your Regulator can't summon itself, so your Regulators are literally just a normal summon rank level 4 that you can't do anything with, so they really suck at that point. But yeah, overall, I think that Bezel Ship and Chrono Quarter are really good cards. I probably should play like a Foolish Burial or something just to send these into grave, because I think these grave effects are really fantastic actually. And then moving on, we have 2 copies of Thoroblade, and 1 copy of Barrage. So I did play the, I guess like a medium size zoo package, just because if I'm able to draw any 2 zoos, I can still like cycle stuff, because if you draw like Barrage Thoroughblade, you can still activate Barrage, summon Thoroughblade, ditch the Thoroughblade, draw a card, or vice versa. If you draw a double Thoroughblade, you can just discard a Thoroughblade, draw a card as well. So I did like having the multiple copies, and I thought that they were pretty good actually. But yeah, I don't think there's anything that I'd like to exactly cut with this. I think that these were really fantastic. And if you notice, I'll go over this in a second, but I did play a Borbo in the extra deck, which a lot of people don't play, but I'll go over that in a second. Obviously, Monster Reborn, really good card. You can reborn your opponent's level 4 monsters or your own level 4 monsters. This card is just really good. 3 copies of Parallel Exceed. This is also really good, especially if you have Regulator or even Effect Veiler or Bezel Ship or Chrono Quarter. Just because it turns your brick hands into really good hands, because you can just normal summon like your Veiler and then link it off into an Almirage and then make the Parallel Exceed, and then you can just make a rank 4 right there. So you'll end on Almirage plus any rank 4, which is really nice. But yeah, I think it's a pretty cool card. I think it's definitely worth considering in your own Time Thief list, I guess. Then we have 3 copies of Tracer. I think that this was a bit overkill. I think I could have definitely got away with just 2, and I would have played exactly the same. I did like the interaction with Tracer just by itself, just because like popping other cards on your field to get a rank 4 on the field to make Redoer is really nice. But it didn't come up as much as I would have liked it to. So I think that just playing 2 copies would be really nice for future builds. And obviously we're on the 1 copy of Magna Rocket Dragon. This definitely should have been Silver Rocket Dragon. I don't know what I was thinking. I just threw in one of the rockets. But yeah, this definitely should be Silver Rocket. 3 copies of Quick Launch. So I did like having triple Quick Launch. And if you drew 2, it was really nice because you could put 3 rockets on your field, because you can go rocket or quick launch, summon tracer, and then you can use quick launch and then chain tracer popping the quick launch, and then you get Magna Rocket from deck off of tracer, and then you get the second tracer off of the second quick launch. So it's really nice. You'll put 3 level 4s on the field without using your normal summon. So if you normal summon something else, you get 2 rank 4 monsters, which is really nice. And so I think that quick launch is fantastic. Every time you see this card, it's like really good. 3 copies of Shaded Brigandine. So this card is also really good, just being any level 4 extender. The only bad thing about this card, I will say, is that it conflicts with infinite impermanence. Just if you are going second and you imperm something, you can't really use the Shaded Brigandine, so it does conflict in that situation. But it's a 1 of, impermanence is a 1 of, and this is like a 3 of, so like typically you won't see them together in most of your opening hands anyways, but if you do, it does kind of suck sometimes. 3 copies of Called by the Grave. Unfortunately, Konami limited this, so you're gonna have to switch this out probably for like trap cards or something, or like can traps. I don't know. I'd have to do a little more testing to decide, but this card was also really good. Sometimes my hands would brick, but I'd draw Tracer Called by the Grave, so I can normal Tracer, activate Called by the Grave, and then chain Tracer, pop Called by the Grave, and then I can make a rank 4. So that was like at least decent, and it was like at least a play that I could do, so I thought it was like fine. 1 copy of Time Thief Hack. So unfortunately, I wanted to try this card because it's a spell Time Thief that you can attach with Redoer. Like you could use Perpetual to attach to Redoer, and then you could draw a card. So I thought that was really cool. I really liked that interaction, but I don't think it was a really good card at all. So I think I'm just going to be cutting this card from in future builds, probably for like an Upstart Goblin or like more hand traps. It's just not as good as I expected. 1 copy of Retrograde and 2 copies of Flyback. I think that Flyback should be cut down to 1, or even possibly 0. I think maybe just the 1 Retrograde would be fine. I think that these are like pretty bad cards, I guess. I don't know. They didn't really come up as often as I would have liked them to. So yeah, if you can tell, I am playing quite a few bricks. I mean, Driver, Bezel Ship, Chrono Quarter, Magna Rocket, and then Time Thief Hack, and all these trap cards. So if you count these trap cards as bricks, technically I'm playing 5 to 8 bricks, which is kind of an issue with this deck. So I definitely should cut down a couple of these cards, especially like the Time Thief Hack, and basically like maybe the fly back to 0 or 1, just so I'm not drawing the bricks as often as I would like to see them. So yeah, that's like the idea. I probably will in future builds, at least if I decide to revisit this. Then we have Light Dragon at Ignister. This card is a really good card. A mini Dingirsu is what a lot of people like to call it, because it's non-targeting destruction removal. It's not sending like Dingirsu is, but it does protect as well, so that's also really good to know. So I do like this card. It's really nice to play around Ogre with it. 2 copies of Perpetua. I think that the second one never comes up, so I think cutting this down to 1 is completely fine. 2 copies of Redoer. I think that the second one never came up anyways, but I don't think I'd cut it. I still think that playing 2 is really good. Then we have 1 copy of Borbo, 1 Chakaned, 1 Trident. So this is a larger zoo package than a lot of people usually play, but I think that it's definitely worth playing just because you can go Thoroughblade overlay, Boar overlay, Hammer Kong, and then you can use the Time Thief Winder to detach a material. You typically would detach like the Thoroughblade, and then you can use your Chakanine detaching the Boar Bow to bring back the Thoroughblade, and then you can use the Winder and the Thoroughblade as link material into a Hashima. And then with your Winder, you search for a Bezel Ship or your Chrono Quarter, just depending on the situation. And then you can go ahead and use a Hashima's effect to special summon a Chrono Quarter or the Bezel Ship from your hand and a Winder back from the graveyard. And then you can just immediately overlay into any rank 4 of your choosing. So you end on a Hashima, Trident plus Redoer, or yeah, I guess usually it's Redoer, but it can be any rank 4, which is really nice. So I do like that situation, that like specific opening hand. And you at least have 1 pop on Trident, so that's pretty good. Then we are also on a copy of Gravity Controllers. So I played this specifically because if you had a way to get to Redoer So like typically if you drill like, I don't know, quick launch and shade brigadine plus exceed, you could start your time thief engine just with these two cards, because you can go into quick launch, and you can, with quick launch, you can special summon obviously a tracer. Then you can use your shade brigadine to bring itself out, and then you overlay your tracer and your shade brigadine into a redoer. Then you use your redoer as link material into gravity controller and special summon your exceed. Exceed will then summon another one, and then you make a perpetua. And then during your opponent's standby phase, you detach a material, and then you target the redoer and bring it back. And then you can immediately attach a time thief card from your deck to it as material. So you can attach either a flyback or a monster. So if you attach like a trap off of redoer's effect, you typically want to attach a monster, like Vessel Ship or Chrono Quarter, just because these can start stuff on the next turn. So it's really nice as well. Or you can even attach like Winder, and then on the next standby phase, you can use your Perpetua to bring back the Winder. So there's a couple ways that you can just start your Time Thief engine without having any Time Thief cards in your opening hand, which is really nice. So I felt like it was like worth playing. After playing in the tournament, though, it never came up, so I think that I'm going to be cutting this from my list, but that was the reason why I played it. One copy of IP, I don't remember if this came up, but I don't think it did, or if it did, I just don't remember, but I'd still play it in future builds. Phoenix, Unicorn, these are obviously like must keeps, just having removal and stuff like that is really nice. A copy of Lambda. So Lambda is really nice just because Redoer is a psychic monster, so if you banish Redoer with its own effect, you can search for Gamma in the end phase, so you have a monster negate on your opponent's turn, and it's destruction, so it's really cool. One copy of Amirage, this is also really nice just to fix your brick hands. Like I said earlier, if you draw like Effect Veiler plus Exceed, you can still make a rank 4, which is really cool. Moving on to the side deck, we have 2 copies of Cosmic Cyclone, and then we have a couple blowout cards. So we have Lightning Storm, Pinkertops, Raigeki, and Evenly Matched. So all of these cards are just one of blowouts that we just side in depending on the matchup that we're in. Typically, if we're against back row, we'll just side in like these 3, and like the Cosmic Cyclones will fit in somehow. If you're against monster cards, or like cards that like just, or like combo decks, I guess, you'll side in like a Lightning Storm, Pinkertops, Raigeki, and sometimes Evenly, depending on the matchup. You can also side in 3 copies of Triple Tactics Talent. I think this card's really good as well. Then we have 1 copy of Dimensional Barrier, 2 copies of Solemn Judgment, and this Deep Barrier is basically the second or the third copy of Solemn Judgment, since we don't have 3 for this format. However, I think that for the next format, obviously Judgment's back at 3, so this is going to be cut into the third copy of Judgment. Then we have 1 copy of Tornado Dragon, 1 copy of Exciton Knight, and 1 copy of Abyss Dweller. So I think that Tornado Dragon and Exciton Knight should be in the extra deck to begin with. I think that cutting like the Gravity Controller and the Perpetua are probably the cards that you want to cut to put these 2 in. And I think the Abyss Dweller could honestly stay in the side deck just because it's matchup dependent. But yeah, that's going to do it for today's deck profile. The 6th place. I did pretty good, I think, and I have a couple of these feature matches on my channel if you do want to check them out. If not, that's good too, I guess. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope to see you guys in these tournaments. If you're new around here, go ahead and join the Discord link in the description below. We do non-meta tournaments. This is how I played this deck. That's why a couple of these cards are limited when they normally aren't, such as Evenly, Lightning Storm, Deep Barrier, etc. So yeah, with all of that said, hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys later.